for a legendary guest.
From Gino to Come On Eileeno, our next guest has been filling dance floors with humans and ears with worms for 50 years. He's finally written the story behind the hits. His autobiography, Bless Me Father, is out this Thursday. So, high time we rock and roll with Rockin' Kevin Rowland!
Let's hear it for Kevin!
Thank you. What a welcome.
I know. Well,
what a welcome.
You deserve it, man. What a
bless
book.
you, man.
What a book.
Oh, mate, thank you.
Gosh.
Wow.
I wasn't ready for this one. I've got to
Really?
be... Not at all. Not for a sec. I mean, I was ready for a story.
Yeah.
I was ready for the 80s. I was ready for a few Top of the Pops, anecdotes. But my gosh, what a ride. Could you cut my hair then? Are you qualified?
I haven't cut hair for about 20 years, so
did
it's
it
better
for-
I don't.
But you did it for a while, though, didn't you?
I did.
Tell us about the hairdressing days.
I was just went on a government training course, and then very luckily I got in this good salon, and they just let me watch, and learn cuts in the evening.
And you liked it, and it liked you. You were good at it.
I loved it. Yeah.
And
yeah.
So Top of the Pops' game was Vidal Saloon's loss, is that right?
I think so. I think so.
Were you up for a job at Vidal Saloon?
Yeah, I was going to go on a training course there, and
Yeah? Oh my gosh. The book it's a book of two halves, I would say. I mean, it's a book of like 10 tenths if you want. Well, it's your childhood, it's your dad, it's all the fights, it's the madness, it's the arrests, it's crazy, crazy, crazy. And then Dexys happens.
Yeah.
And then it's it's on from there, and it's where we are today.
Yeah.
But at one point in the book you say, I just thought if I can just get on top of the Pops, it won't solve everything, but it'll solve most things. Did it?
No. No.
That's the story, isn't it?
It's the story.
Oh, my God.
It's like Jim Carrey said, isn't it? He said, I wish everybody could be rich and famous so that they could find out that it's not the answer.
Yeah, I know, but...
Well, you know that.
Yeah, you can only have that conversation in a certain company, though.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So
good point.
The band you were in, the fact you first got on stage and sang an old standard, wasn't it? A Pat Boone song or a Cole Porter song or something?
Yeah, True Love.
True Love. What age were you when you did that?
21, 22.
All right, so okay.
Yeah.
So and then
23.
you were... What was the covers band you were in that you learned to play those 5 chords for?
My brother's band, New Blood.
That's right, New
Yeah,
Blood.
yeah.
So you love music. You've always loved music.
Yeah.
And you wanted to be in a band, but you tried to play the guitar, but you just couldn't. You couldn't hack it. You couldn't be bothered or whatever. And then you learned these 5 chords, and you're in your brother's band. How many gigs did you play in that band?
50, 60, something like that.
And what was it? What did that band look like? Was it suit and jacket?
Exactly. White suits. Hello, Mary Lou.
Really?
Goodbye, heart. All that stuff.
And how did that feel?
Great, man. Because I was on the stage for the first time.
Yeah.
Me, the sort of no-hoper. I just thought, wow, I can do something.
Yeah.
And then I started to write my own songs with those few chords that I knew.
Yeah. And you just wanted to get out of Dodge, didn't you? Because you had all the jobs. You were hitchhiking to Scotland and back, and then elsewhere. Just tell us, how many times you work at Butlins?
Once,
Once.
but I was going to go the second time, but then my mate had a job, so we didn't go.
Right.
Yeah.
And you would do anything and everything. It didn't matter where, didn't matter who with, or...
It was pretty wild. It was pretty wild.
And you were just earning money for fags and booze and whatever?
And whatever.
Yeah, so there was no long-term plan other than I've got to get on top of the Pops.
Well, at one point I thought that, yeah.
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 All right. And so there's a couple of bands. Killing... what was the...
The Killjoys.
The Killjoys.
Was the
Killjoys
first band,
was, so they were more punk?
But they were punk band, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, forgive me, I didn't realise you were as older than me as you are. So you're a 50s kid, aren't you?
Yeah, born in 53, yeah.
Born in 53, wow. Well, you wouldn't know then, or didn't know then, and you wouldn't know now. So punk exploded, and you were sort of in between different genres. Punk was a lot about the fashion. You were into the fashion. When I think back now, when I first saw Dexys, you were so different, and all the ingredients to that recipe, and you didn't know that recipe was going to happen, were because of your love for fashion, because of your, and it was often the fashion that led to the music, wasn't it?
It was. We just saw it as at least as important,
Yeah.
And that was the fun bit.
Okay, so tell us about you and punk first of all. Was it the clothes before the music?
Yeah, it was the clothes first. I was already wearing those clothes, really,
Right.
even before punk, around 75, 76, wearing 50s suits and 50s trousers, and people were starting to wear leather trousers and stuff. And I was into all of that, and quiffs and And it just kind of morphed into that.
Right.
It came out of that Roxy Bowie scene.
And is that because, people had so little money, all you could do was just dress as well as you could, because there's no chance of a car or a house. So, just focus on what you can afford, not what you can't afford.
I suppose so. We didn't really think of it at the time. Do you know what I mean? We didn't think of ourselves as being broke or whatever. You just found a way. It's always been the way. You find a way to get clothes, You just do. Yeah.
100%. All right. So I mean, we're going to have to fast forward to and sort of jump around all over the place. We've got to get to Dexys now, because then so much to talk about after that. So you've tried it for a couple of bands, and then Dexys Midnight Runners isn't even called that. Yeah. You decide to play some soul music, yeah, because you love soul.
Yeah.
You started with a bit of rock and roll, and then your mad auntie, what's her name?
My what?
Your mad auntie from Ireland.
Oh, yeah. Auntie Margaret.
Yeah, your mad Auntie Margaret.
Yeah.
So nobody in your family got you apart from mad Auntie Margaret, and you didn't even expect her to get you. Tell us about that conversation.
It was like I was at a funeral. It was 1977, and I talk about it in the book. And I had like blue hair or something, and everybody was just like, Kevin, and embarrassing us, that kind of thing. And then my auntie came over she was over from Ireland for the funeral, and she said, "Kevin, what are you doing with yourself these days?" And I said, "I'm doing a bit of music and that." "Oh, what kind of music is it?" And I thought, "Oh, here we go. She's going to give me a criticising." And I said, "Sort of rock and roll, "Oh, I love rock and roll," she said. And I said to me, "Mum, is she related to us?"
Yeah. So you thought you were either in the wrong family or nobody would ever get what you did, but she did. And you sort of traced that back a bit. There was something going on there back in Ireland?
I mean, totally. Her family, she had like 10 kids, and she encouraged them all. They all did drama. And one of her sons was Colin Wilkinson, C.T. Wilkinson, the main guy in Les Miserables initially. Yeah. And
you talk about arts there, and you hang out in youth clubs. Lots of us hung out in youth clubs. Thank God for youth clubs. They're still around. They're hanging on by their fingertips, but they're still around.
Okay.
But then you discovered the benefit, the advantage of an arts centre over a youth club. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was like we'd been squatting in places to rehearse. We'd been basically breaking into places and changing the locks and rehearsing in there until the police moved us on.
Right.
And we just got fed up of it, and the police were obviously going to arrest us if they kept kicking us out of these places. So one of the band, Jeff, told us about a thing called the Arts Centre. And I said, well, what is it? And he said, it's an arts centre. And I said, well, all right. And what do they do there? Paint pictures? And he said, no. He said, you can rehearse. We can rehearse there. Jeff was kind of middle classy and knew about places like that.
He spoke that language.
He spoke that language. Yeah. So I didn't trust it, I said, well, how much does it cost? He said, it's free.
Yeah.
What? So then we went there and we discovered, okay, it's right next to Aston University. It's not in Smethwick or Handsworth or anywhere like that, And, and we drove them mad, actually. We terrorised them.
I know you did some jokes. They got it, though, as well, didn't they?
They think they did, and in the end, we're really grateful to them. They're actually really good people.
Of course you are. So that was so Dexys was sort of in its embryonic stage then when you were rehearsing. You all signed on the dole, and you said, look, if we're gonna do something for 40 hours a week that we hate, why don't we sign on the dole and rehearse something for 40 hours a week that we love? That was it.
And if you're not interested, see you later.
Which is how come you ended up being so good? Because you hear about some bands getting on Top of the Pops after like 3 weeks of being together, but you really went for it, didn't you?
We really did. We worked hard for those 6-8 months. We just didn't stop.
Almost like you knew what you were preparing for.
I think it was. It was a plan. It was a plan, and we didn't try and get any gigs. And as soon as we started doing gigs, people came to us.
Yeah,
it just changed.
Yeah,
it's that thing, If people say, "How do you want to be successful?" Be good.
Yeah, and don't stop.
Work hard.
Yeah, no, the next door you knock on might be the door, so don't stop on the door that just said no. And so you when you're forming Dexys, you go thinking, I'm going for a bigger band, and then somebody says, well, maybe not, because then there'll be more people to share the money out with. That was the story, wasn't it?
What's that?
Didn't somebody advise you to not put everybody as a...
Oh, yeah.
There were some paid members of the band and some founding members of the band.
The manager and the record company advised us to have a nucleus,
Yeah.
And it destroyed us, really, because
and
we
you
were
had to have the chat, didn't you? Yeah.
Sorry?
You had to have the chat with all the members of the band.
I had to have the chat with all the members of the band.
So how many were in the band to
8.
start? 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was 3 in the 3 in the nucleus. I did say to everybody, who wants to be in the nucleus? But it's going to mean more work.
Yeah.
You're going to need to be writing songs at night, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And... only two other guys kind of put their hand up.
And you refer to it as the nucleus in the book. So sort of scientific,
is it?
Yeah. And then
it wasn't my idea. Believe me, it was the manager's. But I still get credited with it, unfortunately.
But it's a great. Don't have to be defensive. It's such a good read. So you offered some of the guys founder member positions in the band, and some have said no, not interested. Yeah. Just pay me when I turn up.
Yeah, that's right.
It's completely
mad,
fine.
wasn't it? Jim.
And tell that story about how did you get the unique brass sound? Because you left out a specific instrument.
Yeah, exactly. We started. We didn't know anything about brass. All we knew is we wanted a brass section.
Yeah.
We didn't know anything about brass, so we started looking around and trying to get brass players. Saw bands on telly. Oh, right, they have a trombone, trumpet, 2 saxophones. So that's what we did, and it sounded all right. And then one day the trumpet player left, and I thought, oh, better get a new trumpet player. And then we're rehearsing and think, hang on. This actually sounds better. Yeah. So that's how we ended up with that brass sound. Yeah, it was a happy accident.
Yeah, because they say better is good, but different is best.
Totally, especially with music.
And how did you come across the brass section in the first place? Didn't you have to sort of ambush people at
we did.
The Royal College of Music?
Yeah, the Birmingham Arts Jazz Orchestra or something.
Because you didn't know anybody that played brass.
We didn't know anyone that played brass. So we stood outside and there's a window there. We watched them in the windows. All right, that guy looks all right and he's playing a saxophone. You grab him when he comes out. That guy's on a trumpet. You grab him.
Yeah.
I'll grab him or whatever. And that's what we did.
All right, now I said it earlier on in the show. I've been raving about your book all morning. Wow. I said... I'm fascinated by negotiation. I am fascinated by it, right? Yeah. Always have been, especially in business, especially buying and selling cars and this kind of stuff. You had a whole different take to negotiation with EMI, didn't you?
We did a little bit, yeah.
Okay, tell us about the tapes. Tell us about how you try and get a better deal with EMI.
Yeah. I mean, we had a pretty bad deal anyway, it must be said.
Right.
So we spoke to while we're making the album, the first album, we said to the producer, look, we're going to hold back the tapes. We decided we'd hold back the tapes to renegotiate. He said, oh, good idea. But when it came nearer, he changed his mind.
Right.
So on the last day of the recording, just after we'd finished everything, all sounding great, at a pre-arranged signal, we grabbed the tapes. Everybody, so you grab that one, you grab that one.
So the album's done.
The album's done. Right. We grab the album, get it out into the van, and
drive.
And I say to the roadie, drive.
Yeah.
Pete Wingfield, who did a great job on producing the album, and can understandably was miffed because his job was to deliver the album. He
was in on the ruse for a bit, wasn't he?
But then he
balled it.
He changed his mind. So then. All of a sudden, we're driving out. Pete Wingfield appears in front of the gates with his arms outstretched, saying, you'll have to run me over if you want to get through. And I just went to the roadie, drive. Yeah. And he did, and Pete jumped out the way at the last minute. Off we went.
Did it work as a negotiation?
We got a slightly better deal, but not much. And they don't forget things like that.
How could you? Roland has done a runner with the tapes.
Yeah,
that is so funny, man.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us about that first appearance on Top of the Pops, which was supposed to solve everything. Go on. Yeah. Tell us about it.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I first got there. I was like, wow. Mm-hmm. And then, the rehearsal was fine, and then I'm doing it, and I think, God, there's 10 million people watching me now, because that's how many watched it in those days. 10 million people, and my jaw just sort of. Clammed up, you know. But it
was it live at the time?
No, you recorded it on a. It was like
some were live, and some weren't. Yeah,
recorded live,
as live,
and then put out the next day.
Is that Gino?
No, Dance, the first single.
Dance. Okay, right. And so you woke up the next day. Life was still the same. It's like nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. No.
All right. Still skin, I would imagine.
Yeah.
All right, but now famous.
A little bit, yeah.
Double whammy. There you go. Yeah. So really famous, but no money.
Well, that's the usual, isn't it, with bands?
And you also say that you didn't really see any sort of any reasonable remuneration till 2014. Is that right?
2014 was when we actually got recouped from Universal Records.
Mad, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, and since then, obviously, hopefully better.
Oh yeah,
since then, so it's all right. Now. Is it everything all right now?
Yeah.
Everything is super cool.
It's super cool. All solid.
And in between the 80s and 2014, did you have to re-sign back on the dole?
I did. I got made bankrupt in 1991, but I was on the dole since 1989.
Right.
I mean, we had a lot of money come in, talk about it a lot in the book, a lot of money come in between 83, 84, 85, well over £1 million, which is 3 or 4 million quid now.
Oh, at least.
At least.
Yeah.
And just before this album that following up the big one came out, the manager resigned and he said, I've got some news for you. You've got 40 grand left in the account. And the bad news is you've got a tax bill for 80. And that's where we were. It was always
the tax bill, wasn't it? It was always the tax bill.
Well, I mean, a lot of money disappeared.
Yeah.
But I don't know where it went, but there you go.
And so you re-signed on the dole whilst everybody in the dole office was singing your hits to you.
People say that, and it's possibly true. I can't actually remember it, but but people did recognise me, and I was.
And the lady was really kind to you. The lady in the job centre.
She was really kind.
What did
I was supposed to go. Well, I was supposed to go for these jobs. I got one woman in the dole centre sent me on this course to find a job, and I think the woman who was actually allocating the jobs recognised me. She went, you don't really want to be doing any of these, do you?
So
and I went, ideally not, no. And she said, I'll just put something else down.
The kindness of strangers.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was 91. 92, you gave up booze. Is that
93,
right?
yeah.
93. And you've never touched a drop since?
Yeah, and it wasn't me. I got a lot of help. I can't take the credit for it. It's really important, because...
did you reach out to someone or did they intervene? Or
I tried loads of times on my own power, but then I met somebody who was exactly like me, and then he had stopped and he reached out to me.
Right.
And he said, look, there's a program of recovery you can get into.
All right, and you've been clean ever since?
Yep.
Okay, and did your life exponentially change, or was it a slow growth? Did it creep back to being sunnier and...
Slow growth, yeah. I mean, I had to do a lot of work on myself, yeah.
Yeah. And this book is 20 years in the writing, so that's very much part of that, I would imagine.
Yeah. I started it 20 years ago. I'd write down everything I could remember, then I'd start to put it into an order. I might take a few months off or a year or something, then come back to it and I go, no, hang on, it wasn't like that, it was like this. So I do feel that I got there in the end, I got the truth, and I didn't want to kind of edit my own life story, so I just kind of put everything in.
You wrote to David Bowie, is that part of your rehab?
Yeah.
Tell us about that aspect of the 12 steps and why you wrote to Bowie and how that landed.
I wrote to him because we supported him in 1983 on his Serious Moonlight tour. And we were doing well in Paris at that time.
Yeah.
We were doing really well. We played a few shows there and it had gone great. So we were on the bill and it was going well. Halfway through the set, going really well. Some people are chanting something at the front. So I'm thinking, what is...
In French?
I thought it was in French.
Right.
So I went over to the drummer, Seb, who speaks French. I don't. And I said, Seb, what are they saying? And he said... Bowie. They were chanting Bowie, and I don't know why. I'd been on sleeping pills the night before, and which always made me grumpy the next day. And I went, what? What about us?
Yeah.
So I went over to the microphone and I said, you're sitting in a field. These were like 200 guys down the front. The rest of them were into us, but I focused on them. You're sitting in a field all day, waiting for David Bowie. Are you mad? You're getting full of mud. And I just, a few expletives as well.
Yeah. Thank you
for that.
Next
thing, the sound went off.
And so the sound went off because Bowie's engineers turned it off.
Yeah.
And the story goes that he was at the back and he heard.
I'm told that he was at the back and he heard. Yeah.
Right. So you then wrote to him to apologise.
I wrote to him to apologise. Yeah.
And that's part of the 12 steps.
Well, it's part of the programme. Yeah.
Part of the programme.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happened? What did you say in the letter? And what happened?
I just wrote a typical amend letter that I just said, sincerely apologise. I was wrong. Shouldn't have done that. It was rude. And. Yeah, I didn't hear back.
Okay, and you know that he got it?
I know that he got it. It was somebody who knows him, and he told me that he confirmed that he got it, so I was pleased that he got it. Okay,
so let's go. We've already mentioned 2014, so let's just stick with that. I mean, again, as usual on the show, I could talk to you literally for the rest of the day about your life in this book. 2014 to 2024/2025, mum passes, dad passes. Dad passed at the age of 102.
Yeah.
Tell us about the end-of-life care that you observed and were part of with him, and then what happened at the funeral.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, like I talk about in the book, I had a difficult relationship with my dad all the way through, and my lifelong mistake was trying to get his approval. And I realised it a few years before he died that it was never going to come, and it was pointless and it was childish to try and do that, And I just resigned myself to the fact that we'll never be close. It's just how it is, you know. And then something happened. I mean, he had a stroke. It's not a good thing he had a stroke, but the great thing that came out of it was he just softened up completely. He was like a different person. I could put my arm around him. I could tell him I loved him. And my sister looked after him most of the time, but occasionally I'd have him over a couple of nights to stay with me. I'd put him to bed and all of that, and, you know, help him tie up his shoelaces, tell him I loved him, kiss his head, and it was great.
So you were giving to him the kind of love you wish you'd received, and in a way, that's all you can do. You can only control the controllables, which you know better than most people, and so you did what you can do, and that was love between you. It doesn't matter which way it's going. There was more love there in those few moments than there had been maybe for decades before. Totally. And I wrote a song about that recently called About Him, Once a Man, Twice a Child, and it was healing for me. Yeah,
it was totally healing just to help him, to be able to help him. And he allowed me to get close. He never would have done before. Yeah. And
the eulogy, tell us, you were elected to write the eulogy at his funeral, which you thought was ironic because?
Well, because I had the worst relationship out of the 5 kids with all of amongst all of them.
Yeah.
But in the end, I didn't end up doing it.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Oh gosh, you're still writing, you're still performing.
Yeah.
Glastonbury, how was that?
It was great, man.
Tell us about Glastonbury. For people who don't know, when was it? How was it?
2024, last year, last summer. I was terrified, because it's a big one. But the stars were aligned, everything clicked, it worked, it was great.
When you say you were terrified, what does that mean?
It means as soon as the show was announced, I'm starting thinking about it. It's going to go wrong. It's going to be crap. I'm not going to be able to sing. It's going to look bad. I'm going to make a mistake.
Is that because that's your habit energy?
I think so. Yeah, but I do work at reversing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've always been great.
God bless you, man.
But you have, haven't you? So there's no foundation for that other than
I've been lucky. No, I've been lucky.
Well, yeah, you've been lucky, but you've been in the right place to be lucky, and you've worked hard to. Like we've done what's quite a simple show today, because every year we do this thing where you can say hello to anyone and everyone, but you only get to the simple show by kissing all the frogs on the way. So you only get to the lucky stuff by...
True.
Do you know what I mean?
True. You got to put the work in to be lucky.
Yeah.
The harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you still feel the same way when you get a day like Glastonbury.
Because music for me is like magic. I'm not a guy who can guarantee that it's going to work every time. I can't always write a good song, otherwise I'd be writing loads of them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like you can't guarantee it.
Yeah. And how's the vocal? The vocal was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're good. I honestly think I'm singing as good as I've ever done, really.
And so the new stuff, when are we getting the new stuff?
Next year.
So the
new album.
Is this book part of the sort of train station?
It wasn't.
Joining the dots to that?
Yeah, maybe it's worked out like that. It wasn't intentional, but it's working out that way.
Let's just go back a bit. We're nearly out of time.
Yeah.
Tell us about the first time. What? The first is only... I mean, there's a lot of tears in the book, but I'm sticking to the cheers. You want to read about the tears and the struggle, and there's lots of it, buy this flipping book. Kevin Rowland, Bless Me Father. It's out on Thursday. You can pre-order it now. The gig in Germany, where for the first time ever you played to an audience sitting down and you were not happy.
Oh, on the first tour?
Yeah,
was that?
You were like, hang on a minute, they're sitting down. You got really angry with them.
Oh yeah, I was thinking, what's going on? How am I gonna work this? I just couldn't get it. Because I was used to like crowds at the front.
They were up for it already. Yeah.
And but after a few songs, I just got into it, and I was just like, hang on a minute, okay, it's simple. They're sitting there. They're the audience.
They've paid.
Yeah, I'm performing for them.
Yes.
They're not part of it. They're watching it. And it was a revelation.
Yeah.
So, then I realised, okay, I can kind of control it more, because when you're in a dance hall, everybody's going, yeah. It's the same dynamic all the way through. It's hard to do it, but we were able to do slower stuff and take it in different directions. And that was a revelation in as much as we pretty much played theatres from then on.
Look at those hands of yours. Come on, let me see these hands. Huh? Look at these hands. Look. They're so soft and gentle. These hands can either cut your hair or punch your lights out. It's strange that they're the same hands, aren't they?
I suppose so. I never thought of it like that.
The stories in your book.
Wow.
The first half of the book, you need to read it. It's not really for breakfast radio. You've got to read it. it's not even a chapter, the last couple of pages, your publisher says that when he read the book for the first time, he said, Kev, it's a great book, but at no point do you celebrate your talent. And he's right. And you don't celebrate it. You say it's not yours to celebrate. But I just want to tell you, you're a genius, man.
Oh, mate. Well, I'll try and celebrate it now.
Yeah, we'll both raise a glass of fizzy water and drink to that, shall we? Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Kev, it's great to see you, man.
Oh, bless you, man.
What a book. Kevin Rowland, bless me, Father. Let's hear it for Kevin Rowland. Come on. Woo! Can't wait. You've got to come on the show and play some songs next year.
Definitely.
You promise?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Sign the contract now. All right. Yeah.